and today we're going to cover EAD processing delays and bring awareness to these delays that USCIS is currently experiencing. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and like this video so that I can continue to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. I help businesses and individuals solve complex work authorization issues in the recruitment process while helping bring awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. If I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to hear how. Today's live stream is brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. Well, most of you who watch this channel and keep up with the H1BGuy.com are well aware of this current, what I'm calling a human rights crisis. I believe that there's a lot of folks out there who are completely unaware that this issue is happening within our borders. And that crisis and human rights issue that I'm talking about is quite simply an individual's right to work. Not if they can find work or what kind of role or work they perform, but just their right to work. I've covered this issue a lot recently. Immigration Bites episode 4, EAD work authorization issues on the H1B Guy podcast, the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 discussing the impact on employment-based benefits, the H1B Guy Live unedited unscripted Q&A 12, and the H1B Guy and Friends episode 1. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you two very brave souls who are willing to come on here today and tell their story about these delays that we're currently experiencing and that have directly impacted them. So without any further ado, Keely, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Robert. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. And Divya, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
Awesome. As I said, I'm just so proud of the two of you for coming on here. One of the things I put out this call for individuals who are being impacted by this. And Keely, you were one of the first ones that responded back to me when you saw this. And, I know you personally know Divya. You guys, share some of the issues in a different group completely. And so just wanted to say thank you. So what I want to do is Keely, I want to start with you. And I'd like for you to tell, take a couple minutes and tell your story of how you got to this point to where, you've completely lost your right to work.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit background of my story. So I moved to the US in November permanently, and I applied for my EAD in May 2020. And that was for the renewal. I got my initial EAD in May. Before that, I had applied for it in February. So it took me it took 3 months. And that was before pandemic, because in February, things were still better. And I applied for the extension in May 2020 for both my H4 and EAD, which were standalone applications. During that time, when I didn't have my EAD, I started, interviewing for the companies in Seattle. And I'm a software engineer, and I had a 6 years experience, very extensive experience with working with companies like IBM. So getting calls was not a problem. I prepared for 3 to 4 months, gave interviews with a lot of companies, and I landed an offer in August. And by September, I was knowing that my EAD is going to expire, which it did. And since we applied for the EAD and H4 renewal in May, we were kind of hopeful that we might get it within 3 to 4 months. So I might have to go for a leave without pay for 1 month or 2 months. We were kind of prepared for that. We plan our expenses that way. So now coming down to today, it's been 311 days since I filed my application. I haven't got any response from the USCIS. My biometrics hasn't been scheduled yet. I keep calling USCIS offices every day. Tier 1 agents tell me to wait for tier 2 agents call, or I can either go for the other route, which is to expedite the requests, which I did. I tried to expedite my request for both H4 and EAD almost twice to, 2 to 3 times. And every time they were rejected within 3 hours of raising them. I wasn't given any chance to submit my documents and anything. And tier 2 agents, kept telling me that all I can do is wait. So yeah, that's what I've been doing since 300 days for my renewal applications. And still, there hasn't been a single change since then. The hardships that I faced is that I haven't been able to work for 8 months now. So I have this employment gap. My employer waited for some time, which I really respect them for doing that. But eventually they couldn't raise my H1B because you need to be working on that present day for any employer to raise your H1B. And they couldn't do that. I lost my health benefits, my insurance benefits. And again, I mean, it's been a very, very, very troublesome journey because, not to mention the mental trauma that it can take on someone. I've had depression, I've had anxiety. I wouldn't lie. And I don't think so there would be any person on this earth who wouldn't feel the way I'm doing. And also at the same time, I'm very disappointed the way legal immigrants are being treated in the US. I didn't do anything wrong. I went through the same process of interviewing. I proved my worth. I secured my jobs. And now here I am not being able to pay my bills, not being able to, work, not being able to build up my career, let alone grow in my career. So these are the problems that I have faced. And again, at the same time, being very, very, mentally depressed about this situation because it's a phase. Sometimes you feel, all right, and you are like, okay, things are going to be okay. You feel optimistic about the situation, but it cannot happen. If renewals are taking 300 plus days, then there's something definitely wrong with the system.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I've covered folks that are February on the channel, and we're not even talking about biometrics for you. We're talking about an extension to your spouse's full petition that was filed. I'm assuming in premium and approved, in a matter of time, and it goes back to, if they could process your spouse's case in that manner, why then are you meant to be, left in the dark? And, through all these attempts, I mean, I think, you and I talked and there was a point where you said, you feel like when you call USCIS and you talk to these agents that you're almost being made to feel like a criminal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you won't believe, one of the agents told me that you won't believe it. So that's what they tell me. They told me that, you know what, you should be happy that your H1B spouse visa was approved. At least,
well, yeah, right. Because think about when your spouse's visa was filed, right? The extension on his H was filed in the height of the COVID quarantines, really.
It took 15 days. It took them 15 days to process it.
Right. But I think that was the point, though. It wasn't that, oh, we can't file, we can't process it. It's that, oh, you should just be glad that he's got a work visa, and you're allowed to be in the country. And that goes back to a lot of the systemic culture changes that are starting to happen at USCIS, but they're just so deeply embedded and have been over the last several years that it's going to take a while to change that. So, Divya, I wanted to move on to you because, I know you're kind of going through the exact same scenario, just different timelines. So can you share your story and how you got to where we are right now for you today?
Yes, Robert. So, I came to US in 2014 March. So it's been exactly like almost 7 years I've been here. And initially, I came here on my H4. And like when I was exploring the options, I found out that you can't do anything on H4 unless you can spend money. So I chose the path to spend money. I did my master's. And when I was trying to convert into the F1, again, the USCIS was under the bad fate for me. So like my process didn't go well. I got two RFEs. I have responded them, and after that I waited like 9 months to get my F1, just the F1 change of status. So I had to go to India with family issues. So I just went back to India, came back on H4, and luckily through my husband's I-140, I have applied for my H4 EAD. That's when first I got my H4 EAD in 2016. But not just being on H4 EAD is not an easy option as well. You have to find a job that suits you well. So it took me again like 9 months to find that job. I have landed on my job and I worked for 6 months. After that, I had a baby. I was on maternity leave for like almost 1.5 years. That's when finally in December 2019 I landed in a like kind of the perfect job that I've been waiting for and the perfect employer. And things are going really smooth. Like I was so happy. Like finally my life is back on track. I had the family, perfect family. Like everyone is happy. I got a job where I am happy. And being an individual, I love my job. And after that, again the pandemic came. I was still optimistic that like everything will go smooth, but when I have applied for my H4 and H4 EAD renewals in August, uh, and that expired, my EAD expired in October 2020, and from then every day I've been waiting for some status change on my H4 and H4 EAD, and like nothing moves. Actually, it's stuck. And calling the USCIS agents daily, like set an alarm at 6 o'clock in the daily morning, because until you catch them at 6 o'clock, you can't talk to them. So I have to get up at 6 daily in the morning and call them. And when I call them, it's like they don't raise the requests for you so easily. You have to talk to them like really patiently, and even talking to them, it's like a job. Actually, you have to fulfill their criteria, talk to them, raise the expedite request without even looking into your case, whether you are eligible or not, whether you have really financial loss or not, or whether you really have some medical issues that has to be looked into. They straight away send you the denial, saying that you were not matched for the criteria we are looking for. What is that criteria? It's our right. We are paying the fees for you to process our renewals, and you are taking months and months and making our lives miserable. So here I am, like luckily one step closer to me. I got my biometrics last week, so I have completed my biometrics. Still I'm doing raising the expedite request daily, and so far the process hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, and it's like, look at this effort that you are going to just to maintain your work authorization. And the thing that I said earlier about this being a human rights crisis, because it is. And here's why. The two of you, when you lose your EAD and your H4, just even your H4 extension, and you can't provide that, guess what else you can't do? You can't drive. You can't get a driver's license. You can't take yourself to the grocery store. I look at you, Divya, and you have a small child at home. What if there was a medical emergency and you know you needed to take your child to the doctor, you can't do that on your own. You now either need the help of a neighbor, a family friend, your husband has to take time off from work, and it just all comes back to this loss of freedom. But I think, you know, the thing that really resonates for me with the two of you is you both talk about how you ended up in kind of your ideal job, right? And I think, you know, for career professionals, one of the things we're always looking for is like the right step in our career, whatever that may be. And I think, you know, as an EAD, you have some freedom to pick and choose what it is that is the right job for you and your career. And I think that that's the thing for me when we go back and look at really what are these delays all about, and why would a government agency you know, continue to prop up the pandemic and you know, a bandwidth issue in terms of their staffing as their excuse for these delays. But I think, to me, my theory is that it goes back to they've intentionally reduced the workforce without having to really do anything other than sit on your extensions and renewals. What do you two think about that?
Well, I couldn't agree more to it, Robert. I mean, this is something that, of course, USCIS is aware about, and I wouldn't say that they're not able to process the applications anymore because of the pandemic. I think Sneha would also agree. We, all of us in the EAD groups, we keep discussing, we keep trying to call them, we keep trying to talk to them. At one point, when I tried to raise my expedite request, they would say financial loss. The severe financial loss is not a criteria, to which I was very surprised. When I asked that USCIS agent that, can she help me? Like, what do you think the criteria is? Because I've lost my insurance, I've lost my health benefit, I can't do anything. And not to mention, to all the points that you told that we can do, we also cannot travel to our home country during all this time to visit our parents, right?
You have no freedom. I mean, literally, you have no freedom.
Right. And this is such this is the worst way you can treat a legal immigrant at this point. Worst way. I mean, this is inhumane, right? And at that point, when I asked the USCIS agent, she told me that she cannot tell me what are the criteria for the expedite request are. And when I was trying to ask another question, she hung up the call.
Oh my gosh.
She did hang up the call. And again, these days we have been trying to call the USCIS again, and we are not able to do so. I tried walking into the Seattle ASC. I'm not kidding. It was almost empty. There was no such crowd. There was like no line. One of the person told me that they have the capacity to process my biometrics, but they have been clearly told by the USCIS that we would need the appointment. We cannot raise our appointment through the website. USCIS is taking a year, like one more month, 1 or 2 more months, and I would complete my anniversary of my, application.
You said it was 311 days. Is that right?
Yes.
So, I mean, look, you specifically know, and I think Divya, you said August. So you're probably in the 200-day plus territory. Chandana in the chat says, 180 days plus, no biometrics yet for her. And I think that these stories are widespread. I mean, Killy, you said that there's a WhatsApp group about 80 plus strong and all in kind of similar situations that all go back to beginning of last year, which is a clear directive from the government agency's leadership, right? And I think that Divya, you said something about what it takes just to get somebody on the phone, right? And here Keely is going to a physical office where there's people there. So very clearly, these agencies aren't shut down, right? And to continue to use the pandemic, which I understand. Listen, we're close. We all understand that we're close. But to me, to come back and when you look at what's going on with these EAD delays, H4s, L2s, E2s, F1s, it's pretty crazy how we can't even get a receipt notice, right? That, you know, your spouse's visas were the checks cashed and approved for you, Keely, almost a year ago. I mean, at what point does somebody say this is a problem bigger than you and I? And you know, the question starts to come. Well, what do the elected officials know about this? What do they do about it? And I know there was some chat, and Keely, I can't remember exactly, but I know some folks have reached out to the senators and congressmen, House of Representatives. It was a question that Chandana asked early on in the chat. This said that heard that you can get the I-45 EAD expedited using local Congress Senate. And so have either of you done any political advocacy? Have you reached out to any of the officials? What are you hearing from them?
Yeah, I think as Kelly said, the walk-ins are no longer working. Even I have tried walking into nearby ASC centers because there are so many actually. Just to nearby, within a 1 hour drive, I can locate like 3-4 ASC centers, and none of them were allowing us to give the biometrics, even though they're still vacant. They have staff to work, and they don't have any appointments scheduled for the whole day. Still they don't allow any of us inside. And even when we reach the congressman or the senator, they also keep saying that you can't raise an expedite request for your biometrics unless you get your biometrics done through USCIS only. But we don't have that privilege, and how long they will take, we never know.
Yeah, Chandana's saying that she sent that her I'm assuming probably House of Representatives is probably who got back here, that their staff sent her 2 letters back saying they were going to schedule her biometrics appointment, but still waiting patiently. So even then, that, you know, what they do is they say, yeah, we're going to get that scheduled so that you quit hitting them. Right. It buys them another week or 2 of time. And that's really what it is. And Shiloh Matthew in the chat saying that processing times moved 4 to 6 months in December to 9 to 12 months in January for Vermont, and they're still processing same dates in March that were processed before. And so what that basically means is that now we're well over a year in these processing delays, right? And as I've said, I know of a couple cases of February. There was a lady that was going to be on who ended up getting her approval pretty recently. That was a February, and you know, H4 EAD that had been here several years. And so, you know, this thing is it's widespread. It isn't just H4s. You know, I'll tell you that's not been my experience, but it is more than just H4. As I've mentioned, it's really all EADs right now, and there's 57 EAD categories. For those of you who did not know that, there's 57 EAD categories. Only 12 are eligible for a 180-day extension with receipt. So by my fuzzy math, that's 45 EAD categories, individuals who have an employment authorization document, right to work, 45 categories who require approval with the physical card in hand, right? To work, to have work authorization, you've got to have that. And so, listen, to me, it's if you can't catch up these processing delays, then you need to go widespread and say all 57 categories are eligible for work authorization with a receipt notice, or you need to hire a lot more people and get these delays caught up, right?
So are the premium processing that they have option to do, like the H4 EAD premium processing, the rule is passed and they are not providing the final statement, like when they are going to start it. Please take the money from us. We are ready to pay whoever has the jobs at least.
I guess
do the processing fast, right?
Yeah, I would say though, there's this growing sentiment out there right now that's saying if you're going to make me as the H1 provider, H1B, pay in premium processing, whatever that fee is, then at least allow my H4 to be processed under the same premium umbrella. But USCIS is never going to do that because premium processing is their number one money maker. It just is.
Exactly.
It's a fee-based model. And when you look at a lot of the things that are going on, and this is where electronic filings, as I've been a big advocate of, and hopefully by the end of the year, they can implement this, where electronic filings, even for EADs, H4 EADs, whatever, the I-765, if it goes electronic, I think that'll speed things up. But until that happens, it's going to require manpower and processing to solve this issue. I wanted to ask the two of you a question, though, and really I want to lead it up with this. You know, I did the casting call to have people on the channel to talk about this problem. I got a lot of interest on Twitter. I had about 25 people reach out to me that were interested in participating. As I mentioned, Keely, you were one of the first ones that did that. I just want to say this, that there's a lot of folks out there that are going to watch this that are afraid to speak out, afraid to put their name and face on camera. And a lot of that has to do with the culture, where the spouse probably is the one who's concerned about their status more so than their spouses, quite honestly, because that is the temporary foreign worker, right? They are the reason that the family is here in the US. So what I wanted to ask the two of you is, what's motivating you two to speak out to the point that you're willing to come here on this channel and tell your story? Devi, I want to start with you.
Yeah, someone has to take the initiative, right? Like even we don't have so many privileges to just come here and talk to you personally and live on the TV. But I have to take the step up. Like without that, the awareness won't come out. And like the people who are still struggling, believe me when I say this, because most of my friends who hasn't renewed their H4s, they don't know this issue exists. So it is the one biggest platform to bring that awareness. So for that, we have to do it actually.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is if you sit quiet, right, nothing's going to change for you, you know? Keely, what do you think about that?
Robert, I completely agree with what Sneha said. And just to add to this, why I'm speaking about this is because I feel I didn't do anything wrong. I want someone to tell me if I did anything wrong. I'm a legal immigrant. I paid taxes. I paid the processing fee, right? I didn't do, I didn't take my job or got my job illegally. I worked hard for it. I gave the same interviews that anyone else does. And to come to a first world country like America, which is like almost a dream for everyone, and not being able to work, even after you have done nothing wrong, this is what makes me speak about it. And of course, to what Divya said, uh, people don't know about this thing. It's And another thing is like, which surprises me is like people don't want to speak. Why? Because they might end up thinking that, oh, they might have done something bad, and that is such a sad thing, right? Legal immigrants from a particular country of birth, having a particular country of birth, feeling scared about saying things that are so inhuman and saying things that are so very unjust, right? Even after you have done everything, like lots of people have done their masters here, have done their education here, are working good jobs here, right? And even after that, even after paying taxes, even after doing nothing wrong, they are feeling scared about saying something. That is very sad, and that is happening in a country like America, right?
Yeah, it is. And we've talked about the impact on you, right? Loss of job, loss of driver's license, loss of dignity. I mean, we didn't even get into the emotional strain on your marriages. I mean, that's a completely different topic altogether, and what that creates. I can tell you that, I've personally, and the three of us, we talked about this, me going through a bit of a role reversal with my spouse, and what that would be like if I couldn't drive. When Divya and I met, I had to take my children to the dentist that morning, and was a few minutes, I had to push it back a few minutes, and her and I just was like, she couldn't do that the day that I did it because she can't drive. And the last point that I wanted to really drive home is we've talked about you, the individual, and that impact, but the snowball is downhill. And that is, the employer loses an employee, they lose productivity, they lose subject matter expert. They went through weeks, if not months, of rounds of interviews to identify and hire you as human capital. So your employer indirectly and directly has been impacted significantly by these delays in USCIS processing EADs. And then let's go a step further. Let's talk about how it comes around to bite the government back, which is, now they're not paying employment taxes for you. Now you're not paying, taxes based on your earnings, your wages, right? And so it's this whole cycle that's disrupted because of this. Intentional or not, it's what happens. And so for me, and when I hear these stories and I look at two women like you who found their perfect role for where you are in your career, to have that taken from you abruptly, right? But it was at a gradual abruptness, meaning you knew it was coming. So every morning when you woke up, first thing you think about, where's my EAD extension? When you go to bed, you think about, I lost my right to work, my EAD is expired. So I think it's one of these things that it starts to consume you, and the anxiety and the stress and what that does to you as a whole and in your marriage, right? I think that's the more untold story here. And that's the story that I wanted to make sure we told today, which we did. I mean, I think if anyone who watches this today or in the future, if they don't hear the pain that you are going through and how this is a human rights crisis, USCIS is, by sitting and delaying on your extensions, which you are legally obligated to receive based on the current law, right? Because you're within your right here. They're taking away that right from you. And this is a human rights crisis within our borders for high-skilled immigrants, legal immigrants. And I think we need to hit the pause button right now. If I'm the 46th administration and I'm watching this, unfortunately, DHS, USCIS was a big mess when the transition happened. But, we're now 60 days into this administration, and I warned folks back in November and December to expect a lot of the same, a focus on undocumented, high-skilled will take a back seat. And unfortunately, I'm being proved right. Now, they still got 40 days to make some changes. Let's hope that those changes happen, because while this impacts a very small piece of the workforce, we're still talking about roughly a couple thousand is my estimate that's impacted by this. But 90% of those are women, if not higher. And so when we talk about Women's Rights Month here in March, we had International Women's Day a couple of days ago. Here are two women that have lost their right to work because USCIS is experiencing 311 days, 200 plus days, and delays. And so with that being said, I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. I wanted to give the two of you an opportunity to close out here today. I know we were on a pretty strict timeline here. So Keely, I want to start with you and just let you have some closing comments.
Yeah, Robert. So, to add to what you said about that, they have 40 days to do something about this. I also want them to be answerable to what impact they made in our life. The negative impacts. The severe financial loss. The mental trauma and everything. Someone should answer this. Someone should be answerable, because if this is happening in a country like America to legal immigrants, then there's something wrong with that, and they shouldn't be just do that. They shouldn't have the freedom to do that to anyone's life. What they did to us, and of course, that's what I'm feeling. That things are gonna. That's what I'm hoping for. That things should change, and they should do something about it, and not just they shouldn't be like give our EADs, and then again if they give our EADs now after a year, within a year we'll be eligible for the renewal again. So this is going to be a really vicious cycle.
Right back to your extension.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we need a permanent solution for this. We need a permanent solution for GC backlog, because I understand that there are terms like cheap labor and everything, and I don't think so that people are really aware about it. It's just a propaganda that they're using about H1B. H1B is what made America today what it
Yeah.
is, especially all the immigrants. And I have already started noticing a lot of people migrating to other countries, and it might
Yep.
not affect America in that way, but it would definitely leave a dent in the economy and the whole system, the whole belief, the whole
Right.
belief about American dream. Because
Yep.
if independent women like us are being treated like that, and left like this, not being able to do anything, that's the sickest thing anyone can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Immigrating to a country.
And
Yep.
and I'll tell you, my friend Garima in the chat, she said, like I told you last time, I even sometimes pray my husband loses jobs, so finally we sell everything, be it a loss, but I can move to Canada or Dubai at least, and I can be me. I've become this selfish.
I would totally agree to that.
Think about that. The
Yes.
fact that you as a spouse are almost like, I am at my absolute end. And, I think it to be at that point, and then, you hate yourself for having that kind of thought, right? You're like, that's not being a partner, when you're having those kind of thoughts. And I don't know. I think it's crazy that, Garima's been very much a big supporter of this channel here, and to hear her say that hurts me personally, because of her support for me, and I feel that pain in that comment. It's crazy. Divya, what you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I think what Killy said is like exactly what the people needs to know. So it's not easy on us when we are doing everything by rule, everything set by the government, and still expecting us to be like a house arrest, being at home, losing our individuality, and with a lot of mental stress. It's not going to last long. Actually, we need the permanent solution. Without the permanent solution, it's sure that the US will face the economic delay, actually.
Yep, it goes back to the full cycle, right? And you know, Chandana, just kind of after that comment from Garima Keely and what you said, she said the mental toll it takes on women, it adversely affects kids and family. Who even cares for us, honestly? And I care. I do, and I care for many reasons. Advocacy, equality. I care because I'm a STEM advocate, and I really care about what the future of this country looks like for my kids and what my legacy is. And I think that when we exclude instead of include, especially high skilled, we will lose the war on human capital here in this country if we're not careful. The U.S. is still the #1 destination in the world for immigrants, but if we're not careful, You'll start to see more reports like I covered in the news on Friday, where Canada is now the top destination for those looking for work. And we can go down a whole rabbit hole of this, because one of my best friends, I've reported way back in August, he left the US for Australia because he got sick of the backlog, quite honestly. And but again, I just want to say thank you to you two ladies. The chat was very strong today. A lot of comments in there. So Chandana, Watcher, I saw Rats in there. Prakash. Let's see, who else did we get? Garima, thank you. Good to see you. I saw Suthil, I think, earlier. Let me see here. Prakash, I got you. Oh, Sushil, sorry, man. I saw you. Shiloh, thank you. We appreciate all your support and coming out and supporting these ladies here. Just wanted to remind everyone that today's live stream was brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. This national job board network provides recruitment websites in 1,024 major U.S. metro areas. Each local job board is its own portal and is a low-cost resource for immigration recruitment ads for all industries and professions, with a flat price of $225 per ad, regardless of which city you choose. RecruiterNetworks.com has been the #1 place for immigration attorneys, immigration ad agencies, and employers to meet the DOL requirements for the digital portion of the perm advertisement rules. RecruiterNetworks.com. Tell them the H1B guy sent you. Just wanted to ask you again, those are still watching, please like this video. Subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube if you're not already, and make sure you click the bell for notifications, select all, so that you're notified anytime we go live like we did here today, or post new content to this channel. Again, I just want to say thank you to Keely. Thank you to Divya for coming on and sharing your story with me. I am forever indebted to you, and I'm here if I can ever help either one of you in any way.
Yeah,
with that being said, go ahead.
Yeah, Robert, I just want to, extend my, thanks and gratefulness to you as well for doing this. Not a lot of people are doing that. And I think on the behalf of whole H4 EAD community, I think I want to say thank you, because, raising awareness like this and, going an extra step, not everyone does that. So, yep, very grateful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. You've been like a great supporter to us.
Thank you very much. And when I started this channel, for those of you who've heard me say this thousands of times, you're probably sick of it. One of the first things I wanted to do was, I had this idea of the Stamp It Out Q&A, and that's evolved into several different series now. The Stamp It Out Q&A was intended to tell immigrants' personal stories. And through that, the Documented Dreamer series live was born for advocacy for aging out kids, legal childhood arrivals. And this series was born, quite honestly. I hope that, we don't need to do too many more of these, that we can get some resolution of this. But I will just say that if there are others out there that would like to be a part or tell their story at some point in the future, because I know that there's more than just Keely and Divya out there, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear your story. There are several that have written me letters that eventually I'm going to post on the website as I get a few more of those. So for anyone who's done that, thank you so far. Just really appreciate your support. And again, those who have made it this far in the video, thank you for taking the time to stick with us here on the live stream. I think we had almost 25 join us here today live. At one point was the max today, but this will be out there for anyone to watch and replay. And again, wishing both of you nothing but good luck and success in going through this. And let's just hope that this is just a small blip in your career and things will get back to normal for you sooner rather than later. So I'm Robert. I'm the H1B guy, your global source for all things